I'm the only one using it. Who does that? Oh well. Happy you're still with me. So what I was saying is that I was talking about the nature of PatternCast and what it does and how closely it correlates. Audio now, just not great. You know what it was? I didn't do a flight check before today's show. How is the audio not great? This friggin' microphone cost a fortune. And according to this, I am peaking whenever I pop my P's. Yeah, that's what it is. It's the deep state. So what I was going on about and what today is about, first of all, I was remarking on what's happening with PatternCast today. I mean, what's happening with Bitcoin. And we'll take a look. We're moving up pretty strong. We did a little bit of a dip overnight. Now we're moving up really strong. And I had noticed on I got some text alerts, monitoring some big accounts, some big wallets, and also that Tether had just recently minted about $20 million in USDT. And then simultaneously, there's all these other alerts of these big wallets that are moving money from one wallet to Coinbase or to some other big exchange, or on BitMEX, 5 million contracts bought. And usually this all is happening after the fact. So it leads me to wonder whether or not these are prescient or not, or they're just, and what's behind all of that? Are these people just fucking with us, playing mind games, or is it useful information? Can I feed that into PatternCast? Can I use that to trade? I don't know. I don't know how I would do that, because sometimes I see, adding 5 million contracts, saying buying it or removing, and it doesn't correlate with what price is doing. But the one truth that I've found that works is PatternCast, man. I mean, PatternCast works because we take an aggregate of many different exchanges. And there's a reality that no matter what exchange you're on, if you look at a time slice and a period in time, and then you look at your exchange and compare it to 10 or 15 other exchanges, you're going to get 10 or 15 other different prices. So, from a signal service point of view, what do? Do you say, hey, we only do signals off of X exchange? Oh, and by the way, that X exchange has some problems with the data over time, so we can't guarantee it. We don't do that. What we do is we aggregate several, 5 or 6 or 7 of the major exchanges, aggregate that data, normalize that data, and then that price time stream, that time series of data is what PatternCast actually evaluates. So when we give a price, though, a level or something, that's not a real price that exists on an exchange. That's an aggregate. It's probably about as close, within a 0.05 variance across any exchange. So if you looked at your exchange, somewhere it might be higher or lower, but it's the sweet spot. I don't know any other way to do it. I don't think there is any other way to do it. Maybe someday we'll have, a universally accepted exchange. Or we could find a way to take every exchange that's out there that publishes or tracks or trades on Bitcoin and aggregate all their data and then weight them based on their size or whatever and then give that a price. I think that's very close to what we have. Really, really close. Probably the best way to do it. So, and what you're seeing here are some previous trades that we had here. And we had another, what I should say is signals. We don't actually say we're taking a trade. We publish signals that provide opportunities for people. And this long that we had back on the 26th, we came up a little bit. I think we came up to about 60% of it right here, but that was kind of a flash up. And now that signal is over as of yesterday. But now here we have this dip. We had a short at 8,197, and I'm not sure if did that trigger. But last night, let's see, what is last night's numbers? Let's take a look. There it is. All right, here's last night's signals. Now we had a buy if price got down to 73.95. Did we get down to 73.95? We got as low as 76.64. So no buy there. All right, so that's over, unless we do a massive turnaround. Now we have two more. We have a theta cell and a cell alpha. These are just the names of the scan types. They don't really, I mean, to you they won't mean anything. And then the pattern string. That's the actual pattern that, or word or story that PatternCast is made up. And there's one, they're both pretty high percentile. One happened 5 times with 4 winners, or 80%. One happened 6 times with 5 winners, or 83%. And they're both shorts. One, should it rise to, and both of these could be right. Who knows? One, if it rises, now, but one's much bigger than the other, and they both end up at approximately the same spot. So either we're going to rise to 8,400 and then drop to about 8,100 and change, or we're going to rise to almost 8,800 and drop to 8,100 and change. That's interesting. So these are patterns that, based on the current context, the current situation, current scenario, should we rise up to either of these levels, it looks like there's going to be a sharp drop. I don't know what that is. It says fraud risk. Huh. If it says fraud risk, why does Apple or AT&T let the call through? I don't know. Anyways, so there are the two scenarios that are supposed to happen today. And it looks like we're going like a bat out of hell that we might be going up to those levels. Huh. So far, we've gotten up to 83.28. So that first level was 84.32. Let's take a look at that. That would be right about there. Wow, it's almost right on that line. And then the second level is 87.96. Oh, that's pretty far up here. It's right there. So there's a short entry at 87.96. We'll put the actual number in there, 87.96. What happened to it? Did it disappear? I don't know what happened to it. It just disappeared. Well, we'll do it again. $87.96. Short entry. $87.96. All right. And then there's this guy. Short entry. 84.32. 84.32. There we go. All right. So what we're saying is that if price should rise up to here, then the target would be, on one it's 81.39, the other one it's 81.74. This one would be 81.74. Let's clone this one. And here's the second one. We'll go all the way up to here. Give that a slightly different color. We'll give that a darker color. Maybe a sort of a fuchsia. And we'll clone that. And that one's coming down to here. That one's down to 81.39. Right there. Wow. Can we conceive of that today? So what I would do here, because, you know, when I talk about all these different exchanges and our aggregate price data, I put like I think I would rather put something like this in here. And say that is my target. Maybe not that big, but what if we come a little short? I mean, what if it comes all the way up to here? Up to 87.71 instead of 87.96, or even up to 87.86, right up to there. Then it turns around. Should I say that, well, that signal was never triggered? That's a tough one. More likely, what usually happens is that we hit a level like this, and then it extends a little bit beyond it and then comes down. But that's a question. You know, when you're dealing with an imperfect aggregate with a bunch of exchanges that have different prices at any one slice of time, which do you go with? Which one is the truth? Oh, I accidentally typed 876. And yeah, so it's down, it's way down there. We'll never find it. Yeah, that's what I figured. All right. So there are our two our two things. And I want to also point out another date on here, and that is the right there. That is the day that the backed futures were released. Yeah, we'll make those a little darker and a little thicker so we can see them. There's the date that the backed futures were released, and we've gone down ever since. I guess that kind of squashes the narrative that most other Bitcoiners had, that somehow that was going to usher in all of this wonderful money from institutions. All right. So there you go. There's our two trades for today, and they're both targeting something right around here. Let's give that target a little bit different, something different. The background will be kind of a green, right? It needs a little bit more or less opacity. It's a more opacity. And a blue border. These are all the important details here. So that would bring us right back into this. I wonder what is so special about this node, about this area. Why did we land here? I mean, we dropped all the way down to here. We're in this node. This big node, if you look at it carefully, extends from about here to there in terms of height. Let's try that again. So what I'm doing here is I'm showing you this node, this here, this area. And if you were to look at this node, I'll go to this other chart here. This is a weekly chart. Let's do that same exact node. It's like, let's give it a background, kind of a bluish background, maybe a yellow background. Yeah, yellow background so you can see it better. And a green border. So this is a weekly chart, and we're going way, way back here. We can zoom in on that, and we can make it a little bit better. Let's go to a daily. Now let's go to 4 hours. And let's see, what were the coordinates on this other chart? 7651 and let's say 8700. So let's say 7650 to 8800. So now we have something to shoot for. Where is it all? I think I have to go back to a daily. Where is it? Where is the end? Oh, there it is. So 76.50. I was and 8,800 right there. All right, now I'll zoom out. To a weekly. What the hell is this? Sometimes everything disappeared. Go to 4 hours. All right, there we are. All right. So there's that range that we were in. I'm just trying to find, hey, what is it that we're seeing here? That's a 4 hour. Let's go to a daily. You notice it's that node right there. I guess the thing that you can say about this is that in the big bubble, kind of slices across 3 of the major bounces. And then when we led up to this minor bubble, we consolidated there, took off, busted the bubble, and then we had a few, let's see, 1, 2, 3 bounces there, and then we ended up right back in here. And we bounced off the bottom of that, and it looks like PatternCast is targeting the top of that. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. We have these major wells providing resistance. When I say resistance, what I mean by resistance is that a well provides. A lot of people talk about patterns in volume profile, or nodes in volume profile, as these nodes are where you find support and resistance. But that's not true. It's the wells that are providing the resistance. Their start, middle, and end. That's where price does not want to be, and that is evidenced by the fact that there's far less volume in those areas. We zip through them. And then price gravitates towards, does not provide support and resistance, but it gravitates towards these nodes because that's where it likes to hang out. That's where it likes to do most of its work. That's where traders are finding value in the market. That's why most of the trades are done there, and that's why they protrude out like that. Because that's where most of the activity has occurred. Most of the trades, most of the buys and sells. And in fact, you can also say that's where most people in each of these nodes to this day own positions at that price. So it's natural to assume then that when we get near that price, they want to defend that or if that's their break even, they want to be above it or below it if they're short. So now we can zoom in. Let's zoom into 4 hours. There we are. I have one of our trades in there. I can take that off. So now we have a slightly different situation. We have this target of 87.96. Is that what it was? Let's go back here. Yeah, short entry of 87.96. And we're finding that line, for whatever reason, coincides almost exactly with the edge of this minor node here, which, you know, in a way could like be part of this much larger node, but there's definitely a concentration right here, right on that level of 79.60. And we're here right now. So it looks like we're heading for a short. Even though we're bullish, we are heading for a short right there. And then we're going to drop down to 81 and change right there. That's what PatternCast is seeing. That's the most likely thing, apparently, that's going to happen today. If it happens, if we set up into this scenario. It's all conditional upon coming up to this level. There was another one if we came up to this other level. What was it? 84.32? Yeah, it's right there. It's a much smaller move. Looks more reasonable, you know, but considering what we've moved today already, this doesn't look out of the question either. But I suspect that, you know, where this guy is, this 84.32, if you look at the volume profile, it's in this little well here. And we know that wells provide one of two things. Either you want to zip through them or you want to get rejected out of them. So that's the kind of behavior we can expect today. We're either going to come into this minor well, zip through it to this little island node, and then maybe hang out here for a little bit, and then return. Now, this is a very common pattern in volume profile, where we have this sort of parent node and a child node. So let's look at that. Where this is the parent node. We need a different color so we can see it. We need yellow or white. There's the parent node. And then right above that is the child node. Right there. And a very, very common pattern is to zip through the parent node, come up to the child node, and then return back to the parent. That is a very, very common pattern. And you'll see that a lot in market profile. If you read some books on market profile, they'll talk about this pattern a lot. And that's essentially what PatternCast is seeing. Through all of its statistical ruminations and calculations, that's what it's seeing. To journey from the parent to the child and then back to the parent. Rajdat wants to know, does the 4 days begin when the PatternCast generates the signal? Yes, it does. Or does it begin when the trade is entered? It begins when so the day of the signal is part of the 4 days. So what he's asking there is that one of our rules, we need the big head. One of our rules in PatternCast is that trades all happen within a 4-day window. We send out a signal, but that signal is only good for that first day, that first session, from 8 p.m. Eastern to the day the signal is released to 8 p.m. Eastern on the next day. Actually, that's UTC 0 to UTC 0. That first day, if the signal doesn't trigger or hit the entry, then that signal is completely invalidated. If it does trigger or hit the entry, we now have a 4-day window. So in this case, that's a good point. In this case, that 4-day window, should this hit, I'll use a vertical line. Right now, today is September 30th. And that would make the next day so we have the 30th, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So the end of the 3rd. You can go down to the 1 day. So it would be on the beginning of the 4th. Right there. Of course, this is UTC -4, and we need 0. So it would be a few hours before. So this is the time window right here that this trade can happen. It can trigger today, and then we give it until here before it drops down. So maybe I'd readjust these. There we go. We can go deeper into it, let's say 30 minutes. Just going to redo the chart here a little bit. Okay. Chart. All right, so I've created the time frame from here to here, these vertical lines, until the end of October 3rd. All right, so we have to get up either here or here, and then this signal will go to here to there. Like that. There we go. I think we're good to go. Sean says, this weekly is interesting. Notice that the price after the big bubble burst through that node and then down each subsequent time. Whereas the new bubble, we have 3 humps that stay above the node. Yeah. So with volume profile, I always start with the biggest time frame. Like, well, weekly is what I consider the biggest time frame. Is there a way to get rid of all objects? Remove all drawing tools. There we go. So yeah, I always start with weekly. And then from weekly, what I can do is I can either draw lines or I can draw rectangles that will define each one of these features. Rectangles might be a little bit faster. Because I want to know where their edges are. Approximate edges. Something like that. I even think this one up here is significant, but less significant because it's not as big, but it's wider. It's a lot wider. All right, so then when I zoom in on a daily, I can see those. See, they show up. And they still correspond, but you can see that we have other nodes in here as we go down to the daily that might be significant. Each one of these nodes are areas where the market found value, and then the wells, or where there is little volume, the market didn't find value. And on the edges is where you can take trades. And those edges aren't necessarily support and resistance. They're kind of like the launching point. They're the point where price starts going from moving, with low volatility to high volatility, or moving very quickly. It's like walking over hot coals. Price gets beyond this edge and just wants to move and find another edge and find another node. And that's exactly what happened here in this drop. We have this huge volume node. We dropped into it, and then whammo, came right through, found another node. And we know that now here it didn't exist, but if we, in a daily chart, but if we went and drew the weekly chart, we can see that yellow box there is a node that existed before. And we could even see that by going to a weekly. And we could have even removed. And see, that node right there still exists. From previous activity. Go down to a 4-hour. Wow, we are moving. Now we know that tradable zone was at 8432. We're almost there. There's one where we can take a short, and then the other one was 8796, which is pretty far up. Right there. There's your two shorts for today. It's very interesting how there's right on the edge of that node. So I think what it's saying here is that we're going to attempt to come into this big volume well, and either we're going to get partway up there and then get rejected, or even further into it and then get rejected. Either way, we're looking forward to rejection. That's what PatternCast is saying. By the way, PatternCast, there is a 1 week left, or less than 1 week left, to the special that we have on PatternCast. There's 5 days, 15 hours left. And the yearly and the quarterly subscriptions are at a great price. And if you use the word crypto in the coupon code, you'll get even more money off on the yearly. I think we're at about 90-something percent, 92% of signals produce great opportunities, or we should call them winners, per se, that have hit 70 to 80% of the target or more. Some have hit way more. That's an edge I don't know how anybody can do without. 90% winners hitting 70 to 80% of the target. Damn. All right, back to the big head. So well, I'm going to fix this video and make sure that the quiet space is trimmed off. But anyways, yeah, PatternCast has also done something else for us. During this time, over the past few days, we've had this kind of indecisiveness. Let me show you. Down here where we're going sideways. You know, there weren't really any trades that triggered during that time. And, I mean, PatternCast gave us these, you know, just crazy trades that you'd have to go way up or way down in order for them to be validated, and they never happened. And so, in essence, what PatternCast did was keep us out of these trades, out of trading at all. And this is where most people end up losing their money, is in the sideways action that's going nowhere. You know, they're trying to think that they're going to use technical analysis and find some relevance in it and find a place where they might be able to go up or down, and they're getting whipsawed because volatility has decreased, and what you're really looking at is nothing but noise. And PatternCast is saying, look, either you're going to see a strong signal or there's no trade. And so not only does PatternCast get us into great trades, but it keeps us out of the noise. Now, I don't know how else you can, what kind of value you put on that. But, you know, I know that there are a lot of people out there that want to trade every day. Trade. But there are a lot of times where just not trading, is the best position you could possibly take. And that's another real big benefit of PatternCast. It keeps us out of bad trades. Fantastic tool. Well, I see Bob up there. That's Bitcoin Bob. Maybe I'll give him a beating later today, and I'll film that for you. All right. Let's see. That's all I have for now. If you have any comments, please ask them now. But those are our trades for today. Or those are our setups. There are scenarios. And so if we hit 84.67, we're going short. If it blasts through there, we'll add on to that position should we reach 87.96. That's the way I would trade it. So if we get up to 84.67, I'm going to take a short, maybe a small position. If we move up more, I'll probably hold on to that position and then add to it when we get to up above here in this area. And then expect a target over the next 4 days of around 81 and change. 81.50, 81.30 to 81.70. Let's show that again. Move up. We'll probably, the first trade, we'll take a small position, maybe 1/5 size of a full position. And if it moves down, we'll take that profit. But if it keeps on moving up, then we'll probably take another 2/5. If it goes a bit above, 3/5. If it goes a little higher, maybe a full position. And then when it comes down, we'll take profit.